Friday, and welcome to our first Flames Nation Live of the week. It's Pat Steinberg with you. We're in the home studio today. We're not. I'm off. I'm off from the radio today, so we're in the home studio today. Hope everybody's doing well on this Friday. We've got your up-to-date election results. That's all we're talking about today is the election. I wouldn't do that to you. Let's see who's in first. Say hello on Facebook Live. We are live on Facebook Live right now. My name is Pat Steinberg. You can catch this later on Instagram Live. It'll archive on Facebook, YouTube as well. We've got stuff to talk about. Don't get me wrong, but let's be perfectly honest. Things are starting to slow down a little bit in the offseason world. Things are starting to slow down a little bit in the Calgary Flames acquisition world. We're not seeing as much. We're not seeing as many additions. I think we're starting to get a pretty good idea as to what the team is going to look like whenever next season starts. That being said, there's still plenty of things that we can get to, and that's why I say get your comments in right now. If you've got any topic ideas or any questions, we get to them throughout the afternoon as we're here for the next 25, 30 minutes, however long it ends up going. So there are a few things that I thought would be good kind of topic ideas that have been popped up on Flames Nation over the next little bit. We got, by the way, Steven in first. Steven first in, then Dan. So we're starting to see people pop up on the side. But yeah, questions about what the Flames should do or what they still need to do. That's all up for grabs on this edition of Flames Nation Live. But I wanted to start here because I thought this would be a cool jumping off point for some of the stuff we're doing over at the website right now. So the entire crew, led by Ryan Pike, have been putting together our top 20 prospects, the top 20 Calgary Flames prospects. And you see there, started at number 20 with Tyler Parsons. Ryan Francis is the latest one at number 18. And Alexander Yellison is the number 19 prospect, doing this on a daily basis, counting down from 20. So you got Francis, Yellison, and Tyler Parsons as the first three of the top 20 prospects to this point. And the guy that intrigues me most, and this is no disrespect to newly drafted Francis or no disrespect to Yellison, who we've seen before, but what really interests me about this list, and it's amazing how things have changed in the last few years, since 2016, and since we saw the Flames draft Tyler Parsons, who you see right there. Since that guy was drafted, he's gone from being maybe the number one prospect or arguably the number one prospect in the organization, and now we're talking about him being the 20th ranked prospect. Now, I don't necessarily agree 100% with him being 20. I might, in my personal rankings, have him a little bit higher, but it doesn't change the fact that his stock is certainly fallen in the organization, but the thing that I think is really important when talking about Parsons is the fact that he's had some real challenges to deal with off the ice. And I guess they're on ice related because they're concussion related, but he had some real mental battles to deal with, and there was we know that he fought through some anxiety issues and some depression issues. And if you talk to him, and I had a chance to talk to him a little while ago, I want to say 3 weeks ago or so, when he signed his contract, he had to deal with a lot of this stuff and a lot of the demons that he was fighting. All of that was because of the concussions. All of that was because he was dealing with all of the fallout from the brain injuries that he'd suffered. And he says that during the pandemic and during the break, he's really been able to get on top of that. He's gone through some different treatments, and he feels like that's now behind him. And, you take a look at what he did in the American League in the ECHL last year, and you take a look at his numbers. You talk to anybody in the Flames organization, and they believe that what Parsons did with Kansas City, the Mavericks last year, he was probably their MVP prior to the injury setting in. So I feel really bad for the kid for what he's had to go through, but I still think there's something there. This is a player that had a ton of success at the junior hockey level. We saw what he did at the World Juniors. I still think there's a lot there when it comes to Tyler Parsons. I really do. So I'm still excited to see what he might be. So that is definitely something to watch for. Hold on a second. Sorry, I had to cough there. I didn't want to make you listen or watch me cough. My and it was only a tickle in my throat because I've been talking. That's it. There's nothing else to worry about. That's why it's like I'll just cough off the screen, and then you don't have to deal with it. A few of the topics on the side. Steven asks, can Mackey actually play both sides? Talking about Connor Mackey, who I think will definitely make an appearance in the top 15, top 10, top 5 prospects with the Flames organization. Can he actually play both sides? We don't know yet. I mean, you can say all you want that a guy can play both sides, but until he does it at the NHL level, it's kind of like, yeah, can you really play your offside at the NHL level and excel there? So I don't know. That is still something that we have to wait and watch for. But Zach's a good point. Like, says Mackey's the dark horse. I would expect that Connor Mackey would be in the top 5. I don't know the order. Pike has not shown me the order as to what the top prospects list is, but I would expect him to be in the top 5. And I would be a little surprised if it's anywhere but the top 5. That's how highly the Flames think of Mackey, and that's how highly a lot of people on the outside think of him as well. A couple of other questions. Jordan asks, "What do you think about Johnny's new contract? What would that be worth? And in that context, who could he be traded to?" I'm not like that's a tough one, and it leads us into our next conversation, Jordan. But I don't know. Like, I mean, the next contract is still a couple of years away. He's still got 2 years left on his deals, so we're still a ways away. Like, we would be, next July 1st is when he would be eligible to be re-signed. So we're even, a ways away from that even being a possibility. I I would imagine that his next contract, just based on what he's done throughout his career, even if he's not having the best run of his career of late, he's still unbelievable value at $6.75 million. Like, we're still talking about one of the better value contracts on the team, and for a guy that has the ability to, and we have seen put up 80, 85 points and that type of stuff in a season. I don't know. Like, I don't think $6.75 million is where that thing is going to is going to put is let's try that again. I was looking at a comment. It's hard to think that it's $6.75 million is going to be where this one ends up. I would suspect that it's going to be a significantly larger contract, and that AAV is going to be significantly larger going forward. So let's move into that next conversation then, and we'll do so by bringing in another story at Flames Nation right now. I put this up on the website today, and this is up right now. And I always find it funny when you do things like this. I always find it funny when you have conversations about report cards. And I did the report cards last week on the blue line, and today top 6 are up, and there's always one person or a bunch of people upset about the grades that I would give somebody. Oh, you're being not harsh enough, or you're being too harsh, or whatever. Like, they're just one person's grades. Settle down. I gave a couple of A's to the top 6. I gave A's to Matthew Tkachuk and to Andrew Mangiapane. I gave A minuses to Michael Backlund and to Elias Lindholm, and then dropped them to C's for Johnny Gaudreau and to Sean Monahan. And somebody was mad that I was too harsh on Monahan and Gaudreau, and somebody was upset that I was wearing Flames-colored glasses on Monahan and on Lindholm and Backlund. I mean, they're one person's grades, they're one person's opinion. It's not that big a deal, but I really do think that you had some pretty solid, and this is just my opinion, and your opinion might be different, and that's why we have these conversations, but it was my opinion that last season, throughout the course of the regular season and the postseason and the restart, like, I thought that there were some really good performances from members of the top 6, but the struggles of two guys in particular and the struggles of a line in particular, I think, skewed the entire view of the top six. And the two guys that I'm talking about are the two guys that we've been talking about for this entire offseason, and that's Monahan and Gaudreau. Let's be perfectly honest, friends. Those two guys had bad seasons by their standards. They were not great. They were not impact makers in the two-way game, and they were not good defensively, and they also didn't score enough. Like when you're talking about those guys, you need them to score, and you need them to score at an elite level. And if they're not doing that, and their game remains suspect defensively, it's hard to give them good grades. So I gave them both C's, and I had other guys in the A minus and A range. And it's funny because people were upset at that, either upset that I gave Gaudreau and Monahan the marks were too harsh, or upset that I gave Lindholm and Backlund the grades were too good. I thought Kachuk was the best player on the team last season, start to finish. I thought Mangiapane was the second best forward and had himself a really great year. So I don't think I'm crazy putting them in the A's. I think that Backlund and Lindholm had really strong seasons too. So I stand by my grades, but I always enjoy the conversation, and it is fun how you can get kind of upset when you take a look at one person's grades. It's just my opinion, and I have my opinion. I back that up but it's definitely something that is open for interpretation and open for conversation. Back to because a couple people asking Josh about what he means on a comment on Facebook Live. I was talking about Tyler Parsons and why I think that he's still a really interesting prospect for me. It's hard to put too much faith behind a young concussed player who's one cheap shot away from a career-ending injury. And I think because a couple people are wondering what Josh is talking about. Well, I think what he's talking about is that when you sustain a number of concussions and when that has been an issue in the past, now all of a sudden you might be, and some people are more prone to concussions going forward. And I get that, but I still think there's something there with Tyler Parsons. I still think the raw ability is there. I still think the upside is extremely high, and so I just don't think that I'd be willing to give up on that guy. And yeah, they've drafted Wolf and they've drafted Chechelev, and those guys might have passed them on the prospects depth chart. I don't know. That's an opinion thing, but I do believe that there's still something there with Parsons, and I do believe that is a season next season to keep an eye on, because I think that with his raw talent and the belief that he is past those concussions, yeah, I think there's something to watch next season. I really do. Some other conversation pieces on the comments today. Zach says, speaking of report cards, I think Derek Ryan's the lowest grade at the center position. Run Lindholm, Monahan, Backlund, and Bennett. Plus Ryan is aging and could clear up cap room. I don't know. Where are we on Sam Bennett at center? I don't know if I'm 100% there. I don't know if I don't know if we're talking about a guy that has done enough to be like, yes, this guy is a full-time, effective, everyday NHL center. Now, I won't discount what he did in the playoffs. I won't discount how good he was. He was probably their best player. He was probably their best forward in the postseason. I don't think that is really all that much of a stretch. But I guess it was an awesome 10 games, and he played center for those 10 games. But are we ready to say that Sam Bennett is a full-time NHL center? Are we ready to say that he should be doing that on a daily basis and that he is better suited there than he would be on the wing? I'm not there yet. However, and then that's why I'm not ready to write off on Derek Ryan. I don't think Ryan gets enough credit for how versatile he is, for how smart he is, and for just how reliable he is. I know that for a fourth line, quote unquote, fourth line center, the dollar figure is a little high. I understand why there is that thought. I just don't think sometimes Ryan gets enough credit for what he's capable of doing and how important he is to what the team does on the ice in their bottom six. So I'm not ready to write off or say goodbye to Derek Ryan. I'm really not. I think there's still plenty of reason to have him around, and that's Not to say the team shouldn't look at trying or giving Bennett more of a run down the middle. I just don't think it's time to say goodbye or completely write off on Ryan being a big part of this team, because I still think he is a big part of this team. I really do. What else we got on the comments today? Derek says Monahan, Johnny, and Levo is the second line. Kachuk, Lindholm, Mangiapane is the first. The bottom six can be a mix. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I don't know if Levo is the right fit or not. Like I think there's something really there, and there could be a really nice fit with Levo playing in that type of role. He's got a great shot, and he's kind of a little more physical. He can be a little bit more of the defensive conscience on the line. I think there's something to be said, and there's an interesting conversation to be had about Levo playing with Monahan and Gaudreau if they're going to move Lindholm to the middle. That line that Derek throws out of Kachuk, Lindholm, Mangiapane as the top line. That's the top line I'm all about. That's the type of top line that I think could really work for this team, but I don't know. I really don't know if the Flames are going to be moving away from Lindholm on the wing and moving him to center. I don't know if that's the plan at this point. I think it's a plan or a possibility. I just don't know if they have made that decision as of yet. Jesse said he'd like to see Dubé with them. Somebody says you could then put Backlund, Bennett, Dubé on the third line. I don't mind that. I don't mind. Backlund and Bennett have played well together. I think you could have Levo very easily with Backlund. But Kyle says I'd put Backlund and Bennett together as a pair, one of Dubé or Levo on their wing. Like I don't mind that at all, too, because if you're going to take Kachuk and Backlund and split them apart, I have no problem with that. And you can move Kachuk to align with Lindholm. I like that quite a bit personally. And if you're going to keep Monahan and Gaudreau together, you need to give them a winger. So then now you're left with Backlund as that third center. So who's a good fit? I think Bennett as a good fit. There's something there. Jesse says Backlund, Bennett, Levo. I think you could mix and match a number of different things, and it could all come back to Backlund as the center there on that. I don't even know if you'd call it a third line, because I think you'd be talking. I think it was a gentleman on Twitter, Kaka on Twitter, basically threw out the way you could, instead of numbering lines 1 through 4, number lines scoring line 1, scoring line 2, shut down line 1, shut down line 2, something like that, as opposed to going 1 through 4. If Lindholm, Kachuk, and Mangiapane were to be your number 1 head-to-head line, Backlund's line would be that second line, and then the Monahan line would be that offense line, and the line that you would really be counting on for more of an offensive bent to it. So that's kind of the way that I would be looking at it. Jason says, come on, Flames, sign Vatanen. I don't know if you're reading the ticker on the bottom, but there's only about $1 million of cap space right now, Jason. Like, I just don't know how they would be able to bring in a guy like Vatanen, because I don't think they're going to be able to get him at the type of very reasonable contract they'd need to satisfy their salary cap. That's the only thing that would worry me. I don't think Vatanen's a bad fit, and I think that there's definitely a need there on the right side. I know Darren Dreger reported that the team is still looking for a veteran right shot defenseman. I just don't know if Vatanen is the guy, because he's a free agent. That guy might come via trade to help with the salary cap a little bit more. But I don't discount the notion of Vatanen being a good fit with the Flames and being able to slot in on their right side on the third pairing. I just don't know if the salary cap situation makes it all that feasible. Derek says, would love a Ryan Lucic Pelche for a fourth line if they want to go young. I don't know if, I think Pelche needs another year in the queue, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's still a 19-year-old. He's eligible for the World Juniors. He's probably going to play at the World Juniors and might take on a pretty big role at the World Juniors. I don't know if you need to have him in the NHL next season. They're deep enough at forward with the signings of Nordstrom and Levo and Simone. I don't know if they need to go out and bring Pelche in and burn a year of his entry-level deal and all that type of stuff. Let him tear it up in Val-d'Or. Let him destroy the Q. Let him thrive at the World Juniors. And then you can talk about it for next season and turning pro as a 20. That's what I would suggest when it comes to Pelche. But I also understand he's a first-round pick, and you want to see him as soon as possible. I just don't know if next season would be the way to go. Kyle asked, would the Lindholm line and the Backlund lines have more defensive zone starts and the Monty line more offensive zone starts? Yeah. That's what we'd be talking about, I think. I think we'd be talking about the Lindholm Backlund line taking on the tough opposition and the Monahan line being freed up for better opposition and more offensive zone starts. So that's kind of absolutely what we'd be what I'd be talking about. The reason why I think there's absolutely reason to talk about shaking up the lines and moving Lindholm to center. Elias asked an interesting question on the comments. Since the NBA is starting their season December, do you expect the NHL season will still start January 1st? My guess is January 15th is when the NHL starts. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure. They're still working on that stuff. It is still very much up in the air, but my guess is January 15th. I would love it if it was late December or January 1st, just feasibly. I think you're probably talking about Jan 15 being the way it goes for the NHL starting. One more topic, and it's a fun one. This came in on Twitter today from Noah, just asking, what do you think the rumored reverse retro should be in your opinion? Of course, he's talking about jerseys. It's a good question, Noah. I don't know, like the whole idea of the reverse retro. I don't know. I know there's been some different concepts. I know our Instagram is always putting up different concept jerseys. Here's what I want to see. This is what I believe would be best. I have no inside information, zero, but I just think there's enough of a groundswell for it. I think we're just going to see the Blasty jersey come back in some form or another. I want to see the old black Blasty jersey come back with the horse head on the front. Bring that back. Obviously, revamp it. Have some new some new takes on it. All that type of stuff. But I think that the classic black jersey with the horse head, that's what I'd want to see if they're to be doing a third jersey. I don't know. I think that they will do a third jersey. I just don't know what it's going to look like. And I really don't know if they're going to go with the reverse retro that we're all talking about. Maybe they do. Maybe they have 4 jerseys next year. I don't know. But that's what I would like to see. It's getting dark in the home studio. I apologize. I'm not into the dark. I don't have a ghost fetish or anything like that. I just my lights are broken. So I wanted to do this early enough to get some daylight in, and then I forgot daylight goes away, and it gets dark really early. So yeah, we're starting to wrap up, and it's a little bit of a spooky edition of Flames Nation Live. Read some more, just a couple more of the texts on the side. Derek asks, "What's up with Shillington? Any news there?" I don't know if there's any news. We talked to Brad on Sportsnet 960. Brad Treliving, the general manager. We talked to him about a week ago, and he said that Shillington is sometimes the forgotten man. That's not on purpose. We still think there's a place for him. They believe he has taken significant strides when it comes to his overall game, but they know that there is still a contract to be signed. But I will say that what I got from Brad when I spoke with him last week was that they're not ready to just completely write off on Shillington. I still believe that they think there is a place for him. I still think that there's, much like Parsons, I still think there is something there. And I still think there's reason to let him continue to develop in the Flames organization. I don't think it's time to give up on Shillington, that's for sure. Jesse wonders, does he still have a place on the team? Is there a market? I don't believe there would be a significant market. I really don't. That's no knock on Shillington. I just think that a guy with 80 plus. I think it's just over 80 NHL games. I don't think there's a massive market out there for a guy like that. So I think the best bet would be for him to continue to develop in the Flames organization. Unfortunately, it's harder for him to go to the American League because we're talking about a guy who we're talking about a guy who is now waiver eligible, so it's not as easy to send him to the American League like it was before. But yeah, I think that I still think that there is a place for him in the organization, and I do think that they are factoring him into the conversation for whenever training camp starts. And Mike Reeds writes, I really think where'd that one go? I really think D-men should be considered in the line building formations because there are several players like Valimaki and Anderson that like to jump into the rush. And I do think there's always Mike an idea of 5-man units and playing a lot. Like for instance, when they won the the Western Conference and got the first seed in the 18-19 season, they used the 5-man unit of Frolik, Backlund, Kachuk, Giordano, and Brody quite a lot that year. They used him. They used that 5-man unit quite a lot. So that does absolutely that absolutely does factor into the conversation. Josh writes, I would leave as many of the kids or prospects left out of the NHL this year just to protect against the expansion draft. That's a fair point. Shannon says, do you think Bennett's stock is high enough to keep him moving forward? I don't think that, I don't know what his stock is league-wide. I'm not in a hurry to trade the guy. I'm not saying they need to get rid of him. They need to say goodbye to Bennett. But I do think in certain circumstances you could see him being part of a trade if it were to be trading from a position of strength and bringing in something else that they need. I don't think he's untouchable, especially because they might not be able to keep him in the they might not be able to keep him in the expansion draft. But I'm not eager to trade the guy either. I still think there is lots of positive development to come from Sam Bennett. Good stuff, everybody. Thank you for being on. I'm gonna say goodbye because we're half an hour in. So we've had a nice good run today. But B, as soon as I switch away from one screen on my computer, look at how dark it gets. Is this really the greatest thing to watch? A silhouette with a Flamesnation thing up? You can't even see my hand. Is this the greatest thing to watch? Do you want to just keep watching a silhouette moving around? Great stuff. Appreciate the questions. Remember, big show on Sportsnet 960 The Fan goes from 1 till 6 p.m. every day. You can catch us on Flames Nation here on Facebook Live, official Flames Nation, at Nation_FN on Instagram, or just straight up Flames Nation on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, Steinberg1984, or pop by on Twitter. Have yourself a great weekend. Be safe, everybody. We will talk to you some point next week on another edition of Flames Nation Live. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great rest of your Friday.